Hello, my Degens. Welcome. How we doing? Welcome to Welcome to Dynasty Degens. I almost said welcome to Nerdboi Takes. I'm Nerdboi Takes. Today we are talking tight end. So tight end values, tiers, everything up in between. We're going to be talking about the guys that we're high on, low on, sleepers, people that are talked about ad nauseum, to the people that you might not even hear about. I figured there's no better guy to do that with than Mr. Michael Bower. So Michael is he's the creator of Dynasty Rewind, I believe, the CEO. So
Yep.
he's the man behind the curtain there. Michael, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Not much. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, that's me. I did create and found the Dynasty Rewind back in the idea started in late 2018 and our first pod dropped 2019. So it's been a little bit now.
Yeah, I love the content that you guys put out there.
Thank you.
I obviously been following you guys for a little bit. We're a younger pod, so we started about 2 years ago. But we've kind of, I guess now we got our hand in a little bit of everything. So it's a fun ride. It's definitely chaotic, and I definitely know what you're going through starting a brand, and kind of figuring out the ins and outs of the industry and stuff. And
Tough.
it's tough, it's rewarding, it's fun, it's sad, it's exhausting sometimes, but
You nailed it at exhausting.
yeah, the grind is something that you got to keep going. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially new content creators, get oversaturated with, when it's, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm not seeing a lot of feedback, I'm not seeing a lot of growth, and they usually throw in the towel too early for the most part. But
Yeah.
you guys have been killing it over there. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we get into tight end talk, I like to do this with every new guest, everyone that comes on the show. Tell me your favorite TV show. Tell me the character from the show you most want to be in a dynasty league with.
I was looking at this on the sheet that you prepped, and I got to be honest with you, I'm torn between two shows, and one will show my age, and the other one is a little bit more relevant. So I'm going to tell you both. The first one is Seinfeld. Seinfeld. I'm 40.
Yep.
So
I'm almost there.
okay. You look a
Yeah.
lot younger than me, if I may say.
Well,
But it's the
honestly,
darker hair. That's what does it.
I'm Portuguese, so it's also there's I don't know. I don't know if that's helping me or what.
You
Maybe
got
it
the
won't.
good skin, you got the dark hair. I mean, you can't see it on camera, but I got a lot of gray starting to come in. My wife likes it though, so
I
that's
got
fine.
them. Yeah, salt and pepper, man. You're
But
established.
so for us, Seinfeld, when I was a kid, my dad would always watch it, and it was just kind of always on. And I still watch it, on Hulu or one of the 1,000 streaming services you have to pay for now. Watch clips of it all the time.
I watched it last night, actually.
It's such a good show, and it holds
Yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
But my second favorite one, and this is going to sound vanilla, but it's The Office. I live in Eastern Pennsylvania. Scranton is about an hour away from me. So some of the places that they talk about in the show, like Poor Richard's, is an actual bar. It's in a bowling alley. A lot of people don't know that. I have been there. It is a little dinky dumpy dive bar, and it's amazing. So those are my two favorites. I can't choose between just one, but I think the player that I would love to most be in you said Dynasty League or just Fantasy League?
Whatever league, it doesn't matter. Whatever your I guess like your vision would be. I think that it would be fun to play with a lot of people in the office, and like a home. Obviously, the work redraft league would hit in that setting. I think. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to, because it's the Dynasty Rewind, I'm going to say Dynasty, and it's got to be Michael Scott, because all you have to do is take him out for a drink, and you got Justin Jefferson on your roster. It's not going to be hard to just weasel good players off his team, and you can talk him into bad deals. Even though he's the ultimate salesman, you can sell him with your friendship. Also, I apologize if you see me flinching or the camera moving. I have zip tied my camera tripod to my desk because my cat likes to come in here when I podcast, and sometimes she bites me if I move my feet, and she likes to hit the camera. So
I love that. I love that tidbit right there. I love getting behind the scenes information when it comes to cats, dude. My cat will climb up on here and lay down on my keyboard, and it'll just sit there and stare at the camera.
So if you ever watch any of my videos and I'm flinching or going like that, it's the cat's just like, hey man, don't get comfortable. I'm comfortable. I'm going to bite you now. And
Yeah.
cool, thanks, buddy.
Love bite though, right? It's like I'm here. I'm just letting you know that I'm around kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a little more than a love bite sometimes.
All right. Dude, so yeah, I think a lot of people have said The Office or Seinfeld. The Office, the trade is always brought up, right? The trade in The Office where who is it? The guy from the warehouse, he trades Sean Alexander for a defense. Remember this episode
It
where
wasn't Daryl, was it?
no, it is
Is it the character
Daryl.
played
Yeah, it
by
is Daryl. It is Daryl.
Okay.
He everyone's roasting him because he traded. This is during Sean Alexander's like 1,600 all-purpose yard, 25 touchdown, whatever he had season, right? Early 2000s where he was just like a monster.
He was.
And he traded him for like the Steelers defense or something, you know? And everyone's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too. A lot of times you have to look at positional scarcity, and in a straight up trade that looks really bad. Also, team defense is just kind of blah to me. If anything, I'd rather play IDP, and I'm not a very good IDP player, admittedly. Um, but yeah, so a lot of times if you have a multitude of good players at one position, but you are lacking in another, you sell a good player for a position you're scarce at to make your entire roster better. So sometimes moves that don't look good on paper actually work out. I'll give you a prime example of a trade I made. It was either last year or 2 years ago. I was going all in trying to win this one league. It's a league that I care about a lot. And you know, as well as I do, there are leagues you care about more than others, right? And
Of course. Yeah.
I know everyone says, I don't have a favorite league. I do. All right. I prioritize some leagues more than others. And I really wanted to beat the person that I assumed I would meet in the championship. And I did meet that person in the championship. I traded Justin Herbert. I believe he gotten injured. I traded him straight up for Jared Goff going into the playoffs. And I ended up winning the championship. But the fact of the matter is, you know, a lot of times people look at name and they associate the value based on the player's name. And you can't do that. There's one of the resources I use, not to plug another site's content or anything like that. I use Fantasy Pros, and you just go basically into research, NFL, and then it's just stats. And then you could sort it by PPR standard scoring, and that'll give you where everybody finished for the year. I have tight ends pulled up right now. It gives you fantasy points per game. It's fantastic. And fantasy points per game to me is a huge indicator of success throughout the season. You can click on them, look at how they do. Did they just have one huge game, 2 or 3 huge monster games? But that's a huge indicator of success. Jared Goff, does he have as good of a ceiling as a player like Justin Herbert? Maybe not. He's a good steady Eddie, and you know they like to run the ball a lot in Jim Harbaugh's offense. So for Sean Alexander for the Steelers defense, let's not forget the Steelers defense at that time was absolutely lights out too. So look at your scoring settings too. A trade that doesn't make sense in one league is absolutely a great trade in another league. So
Yeah, you're not wrong on that. I think I don't hate that trade even in a dynasty league when we're talking about, you know, moving a player. Obviously, Justin Herbert with a lot more value than Jared Goff straight up. But at that
right.
point, if you're going to win some money off of that, I'm fine with that move. I think that we're looking at, yeah, you're right. Harbaugh is a run first offense type deal, and you know Herbert has been waiting for that. You know, we're going backwards in time to the rookie year where he's throwing the ball 40 times a game. And I don't think we're going to see that ever happen again, even though I think Justin Herbert's a good NFL quarterback.
Same.
I think he's not going to hit that value ever again. But let's bring it to it, man. Let's get to tight ends. Let's talk a little bit. You know, we talked about rankings a little bit. If you want to catch my rankings, you can go to Draft Trade Calculator. We do all the rankings for over there, so you can see this, but I'm going to talk about it in real time right now. The first thing that I'm going to is tight end 1 in Dynasty. This is a Dynasty show. This is probably more geared to this year as content goes and who we're going to be talking about. But, you know, as a Dynasty ranker, you have Bowers over McBride. Am I correct on that?
I do.
Yeah.
One of the things I always tell people, tight ends, wide receivers, whenever you are trying to acquire that player, you're also acquiring the person throwing them the ball. And a lot of times I use that in evaluating how I evaluate a wide receiver or tight end. But there are certain circumstances where a player is just so special and elevated above everybody else at that position that I don't really care about who the quarterback is. And Geno Smith, hey, he's a good fantasy quarterback. He's not a quarterback one. He's a good fantasy quarterback two. I think he averaged 16.5 fantasy points per game last year. It's pretty good in your quarterback two spot right there. He's going to be good for Brock Bowers. So it's Brock Bowers for me. It is close. I do like Trey McBride. I like Kyler Murray. I think they're putting together something good out there. I wish Jonathan Gannon could have gotten his defense to play as hard as he got, for the Eagles as he did in Arizona. That's a discussion for another day. I'm still bitter about the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That being said, it's Bowers for me. But if anyone has McBride over Bowers, I understand. I love Trey McBride too. All he needed was Zach Ertz to leave, and he was able to ascend.
Yeah, I think that Bowers handily is the dynasty tight end one for me. But I think that if we're looking at this year, I have McBride edging out Bowers production wise just because of the situation. Tight end for me, when I'm looking at tight ends, I want the guy that is the surefire first option in that offense, or worst case scenario, they're the second option. I can't go and rank a tight end highly as the third option in an offense, no matter who the quarterback is. It's tough for me to just say this guy is set and forget it, tight end one. It's just not going to happen. We're looking at, a situation where there's two really good wide receivers. That tight end is tough for me. And I don't think either of these teams have that. You need to see Marvin Harrison Jr. elevate his game. I don't think that's going to happen. I also don't think that, anywhere on Oakland, they have all these ancillary pieces. They have all these guys, but they do have more than they had last year. They have possibly a better quarterback, but there's also a lot of competition. There's a Genti. There's I don't know what's going to come about Jacoby Myers, and we're looking at, people coming up, Dante Thornton, and there's just guys that could possibly bleed into a little bit of target competition. Not that I think Bowers is going to be affected directly, but I think that, McBride's positive regression could happen when we're talking about, what did he have, one receiving touchdown last year? I think that was the difference between him being tight end one and tight end two, was just maybe 4 or 5 more touchdowns, and he probably would have locked that up at that point. Do you have any take on McBride's outlook versus Bowers in the next couple of years? Obviously, there's situations we don't know about, but you are the tight end whisperer. That is your namesake right now. So, give me some hot takes, information, anything you got on these two guys going head to head right here.
Well, it's a lot closer than people think. Bowers had 153 targets last year. McBride had 147. Bowers had one more catch, both over 10 yards of reception, and Trey McBride with 2 touchdowns. Brock Bowers with 5. So, let's see. Brock Bowers edged out McBride by about 13 fantasy points total on the year. Trey McBride actually scored more fantasy points per game, 15.6, as opposed to Brock Bowers' 15.5. I mean, 0.1. Look, I tell people all the time, 0.1 doesn't matter. If you ever lost the game by 0.1, you sure have. I know I have. I've also won games by 0.1, but I'll take that win. Bitch about the loss too. I think it could be really close. And you're absolutely right about the pieces around them, especially when you look at the Arizona offense. I pulled it up on our lads. I use our lads for depth charts. I think they're awesome. They got Marvin Harrison. Look at this wide receiver room. It's kind of gross. Marvin Harrison Jr., who a lot of people kind of put a fantasy bust label on last year. He had almost 900 yards receiving.
Sure. Yeah.
Not everybody's Jamar Chase,
Mm-hmm.
They got Michael Wilson and Zay Jones, guys that I think are good NFL players, but not much for fantasy. And they got Trey McBride. So for them, I think there are certain circumstances, especially a quarterback who can't really see over his offensive line very well, where McBride can be the first target. And then, in all fairness, though, I'm not brought up the Raiders wide receiver room, Donta Thornton, Trey Tucker, and Jacoby Myers. So yeah, it's going to be neck and neck for these guys for a while. This is a clear tier 1 for me, and then there's a tier break after this. So, I think it's going to be neck and neck, and it could be a coin toss. If McBride brings up the touchdowns a little bit more, he could very easily be the tight end 1.
Yeah, and I would argue that, Brower's quarterback situation is probably better at this point. You are right when we're talking about Kyler. Obviously, he works in the middle of the field. It's tough for him to be, throwing to outside targets. And I think that's why we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. not live up to the lofty expectations that he had. It's just really, they were playing him on the outside a lot. It's hard for him to throw to the outside. So it's like, I don't know. It is. There's a lot of, they're very close. There's no way I can say that, one or the other is a set it, forget it. When it comes, these guys are going to be battling for tight end 1 for the next 3 to 4 years, I think,
For sure.
and unless we see a rookie come in and really just, is there somebody, let's just go to it right now. Is there somebody that you could see battling these two guys in the next couple of years right off the bat? Like, I know that tight end 3 it goes everywhere, because if you're talking dynasty, you want to say Kittle for production. I think that a lot of people want to go that route, but then you're also looking at age, and you're looking at, I look at a 3-year window typically in dynasty, and it's not, do I think that they're going to produce the next year, but it's like the 3 years combined, who do I want, and you're lucky if a dynasty league from Twitter lasts 3 years at this point in time, but
or 2 or 1 sometimes.
Or sometimes, yeah. I've seen them fold in the middle of startups. I've seen them go 5 rounds and some guy just loses his mind. So, but who do you have for 3?
So I use Keep Trade Cut a lot too, and I just brought them up here. And a lot of fellow analysts say don't use Keep Trade Cut, but Keep Trade Cut is important because it's crowdsourced, and these are the people that you are playing in dynasty leagues against. Not everybody's an analyst. A lot of people just like to play, and I strive to be that again one day. That being said, right now it's Tyler Warren. I can't put Tyler Warren at number 3 right now. With that quarterback situation, Daniel Jones, it gets worse if he's not on the field with Anthony Richardson, who I'm so out on, it's not even funny. I had him as a sell high in one video just because I think anything you can get for Anthony Richardson constitutes as a sell high. He came out too early. He's inaccurate. And this is the problem with the NFL. They see athleticism and they go, I can fix this guy. The only thing that could have fixed him is more development of Florida. An easy answer would be like Sam Laporta. Colston Loveland is tight end 5, which I think is too high for the Bears offense. I want to see what Caleb Williams turns into first. But I'm not out on TJ Hawkinson or Tucker Kraft. And a lot of people forget that Tucker Kraft was not supposed to be the guy. They drafted Luke Musgrave, and he's just been injured so much. And Tucker Kraft took advantage of the opportunity. A lot of people say talent over opportunity. You need a mixture of both. If you don't have opportunity to showcase your talent, it doesn't matter. He made the most of it. And we know that in a crowded wide receiver room in Green Bay, he's the guy at tight end. Jordan Love looks to him. It's consistent. So, right now, for me, I'm going to, between Tucker Kraft and TJ Hawkinson, I would go Tucker Kraft could easily be tight end 3 for me. Quarterback situation is more settled. I like JJ McCarthy. We have yet to see him play in a meaningful NFL game. So until that happens, can't really plant my flag on Hawk. I'm going Tucker Kraft. He's sneaky and he's climbing up there. He's currently tight end 8 on Keep Trade Cut. Where did he finish last year? Let me pull Fantasy Pros back up. He was tight end 10. So, 50 catches, 707 yards, and 7 touchdowns. It's a nice season.
Dude, Tucker Kraft. I was thinking, I didn't know where he was going to go with you. I didn't know if we were going to like the tight end 3 in Dynasty, you're right. It is honestly, you have to look at the trajectory right now, and it's almost guesswork, but you have some grounding there, as far as how you can guess and how you can look at if you have a chart, if you have ways of like really plugging in numbers, it's great. But you want to say Laporta. I want to say Laporta. There's a world where Kittle outproduces everybody for the next 2 years. At least 2, right? Like you could possibly say, production wise, you want Kittle for, I think this year he's set to maybe even finish tight end 1 if all things, if we see Ayuk maybe out for even longer than we expect, and Juwan Jennings is banged up, and we're looking at
wants to get traded, then you got Russell Gage and Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, and
Sky
it's
Moore
just
and Jordan Watkins. It's gross out there in San Francisco.
It's pretty gross. Yeah, they've been plucking guys off of the waiver wire. I think they got MVS the other day. I think it's just really, it's being held up by gum and shoestring at this point. So I think that he's going to get the targets. I think health is probably the only issue that you would have with the amount of production we get out of somebody like Kittle. But I'm with you on Tucker Kraft. We've just see it in his tape over and over again. He is that guy. He is that safety blanket. And Jordan Love, it needs a safety blanket. I can't sugarcoat it. He has the ability, when I watch his tape, to go through 2 reads, and then it seems like he goes back to the first read again and never goes full 3 reads. Whenever I watch him, he goes boom, boom, and then he goes back to the original look. And it's like he doesn't ever go to a certain side of the field. And that's why we see, I think, them lining up everybody everywhere in that offense. It's always those wide receiver sets are different every game. And I can't even predict who's going to be in 3 wide receiver sets. Game 1, game 2,
they know.
Game 3. They don't know either yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with Jordan. With Jaden Reed and the Dobbs, and I don't know. There's just so many. They're all like the same level wide receiver to me. Like they all have, like, if Golden steps up and is that one, there's at least some validity and there's solid production there. But I'm still going to say they're going to be trading places every game. I think Tucker Kraft is going to be the only guy that stays consistent in that offense this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they have a good wide receiver room. It's just very unpredictable.
Yeah, and the thing about having everybody that's like pretty good, that there's nobody that's like excellent. There's nobody that's going to be the CeeDee Lamb of the room that's going to dominate target share. Nobody has that skill set to dominate target share. So then they kind of cannibalize each other at that point, and it's on the outside, it's tough, but in the middle, I think that it's all Tucker Kraft, and whoever it is that emerges as the slot guy, which at this point could just be Tucker Kraft,
It could be. Yeah. I mean, they got Jaden Reed slotted in the slot right now. So think of that wide receiver room. I'd probably just take him. The value is probably the best on him too. Well, you could get Romeo Dubs cheaper, but then Matthew Golden's too expensive to try to acquire right now if you haven't drafted him.
Yeah, and they're talking, what does Jaden Reed have? He's got the Jones fracture right now. He's got something going on with his foot.
I'm not sure. I don't see anything on here, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
I think it just came out today that he's got a little Jones. I saw it pop up at some point. I'm actually locked out of my Twitter right now.
Jaden Reed's, this is 16 hours ago. Jaden Reed's foot injury is a Jones fracture. And then according to, that's from Acme Packing Company, which is how the Packers got their name, in case anyone's wondering. The Packers Wire says Packers wide receiver Jaden Reed planning to play through Jones fracture in foot. So I didn't see that. Yeah, but then just give me Tucker Kraft.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on that. I think Tucker Kraft, with the age, with production, I think that there's just too much going on there. And Tucker Kraft, if we're talking about him being this high up in dynasty rankings, he is a big time value right now in
For sure.
any draft. Like if we're gonna bump him up to a top 3 dynasty tight end at this point, yeah, I mean, go get Tucker Kraft, right?
For sure.
We mentioned Kittle, so we're going down to 4-ish. Like we're in a range right now. I don't like to just give them direct numbers or anything, but we like to go down in ranges and tiers and all that stuff. And you could swap certain guys up and down, but you're looking at similar production in the tight end landscape for the next tier right here. And I think we can talk about Hawkinson, Kittle, and Laporta, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Probably these 3 guys. And obviously Hawkinson's got a little bit of blend of youth and production. Laporta had that good rookie year, but we saw him kind of phased out in, I don't know, the second year regression is pretty common with tight ends, right? Because they get figured out. They have tape on them. They have to make adjustments. They have more blocking things on their plate. There's so many different facets to a tight end, where they have to adjust on the fly, and it's hard year 2 for sure. Where would you rank these 3 guys? If you had to, Nerf gun to the head, if you had Laporta, Kittle, Hawkinson, how would you assess the talent and who would you want in Dynasty in that order?
Porter, Kittle, and Hawkinson. Well, ranking these guys, we're gonna take how my team is out of it. We'll just do like a straight up ranking. I'd probably go, because the fact of the matter is, I think people overvalue youth in Dynasty at times. We always gonna want to get younger and better, but younger doesn't always equal better. So I would go Kittle, then I would go Laporta, and then I would go Hawkinson. And the fact of the matter is, Kittle is going to be 32 years old this season, but you can always replace these guys. You can always trade for a younger guy if he retires or whatever. And there's always going to be guys coming out in the draft. So a lot of times you just have to take the points, because that's what you need to win games. And Kittle's productive. And I know he had a while there where he was missing time with injury, but he's been solid the last few seasons. Might have missed some time here and there. I don't have his stats up in front of me. But Kittle's solid, man. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he runs through people. Look at that tight end 1 for Kittle. I mean, it's always possible. It's always like, especially if CMC doesn't stay healthy. I understand they traded for Brian Robinson, but he's not the biggest receiving back. And if CMC's not healthy and their wide receiver room is in shambles, Kittle is going to get absolutely peppered with targets. So there's always that outside possibility that it happens. And, you said second year tight ends that get figured out. That could be Brock Bowers this year. So it's not outside the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. It's wheels up for Kittle. I think that I touched on it a little bit there, and the target competition. I don't like to list vacated targets as a reason to boost a guy up by any means, but Kittle's good enough to do that. Kittle's good enough to just say, if he has the lion's share of targets and he's the first option in offense, that Mike Shanahan and they're going to figure out ways to move the ball. Obviously CMC can only do so much. They want to keep him fresh, so they're going to be throwing it. And outside of Pearsall, Kittle is going to be the main beneficiary of that.
I agree.
I want to say that Laporta comes back to life. I mean, he didn't have a bad year last year by any means. It wasn't like he had some injury stuff, and he did. What did he finish as tight end 6 or 7, or I
He
think I'm just
was tight end 8, but he
yeah.
still had 60 catches for 726 yards and 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, it's not a bad season. He had a drop off the year, but I mean, he did not play in the last game of the year. Lions had everything wrapped, or he missed a game. I'm not 100% sure. The year before that, played in all 17 games, and he had 86 receptions for 889 yards and 10 touchdowns. So, 10 touchdowns in year 1, 7 touchdowns in year 2. We figured there'd be a touchdown regression from year 1 to 2. Jameson Williams came on in that year 2. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, they have Jahmyr Gibbs. So this
Yeah.
is a team that likes to spread the ball around,
Yeah,
but
there's
he's
a lot
definitely a
of
piece of a good offense.
yeah, he's in a great offense, and I'm not a guy that's fade the Lions because Ben Johnson isn't there. I don't
Same.
believe that this is going to be a dramatic drop off all of a sudden with Jared Goff. It's just not going to happen. It's gonna, I don't see it coming to fruition. And then we're going to go over to Hawkinson, who's got a fully healthy Hawkinson with a suspended Jordan Addison, and a rookie quarterback. I think that you can make a case for any three of these guys, any one of these guys to finish as tight end 2, 3, like jump into that production wise in that tier for at least this year. There's you can sell me on any of this, and you could say, you could tell me Hawkinson's gonna build some chemistry with JJ McCarthy early with Addison out, and he becomes the second option in this offense for the entire year. And I'd drink that Kool-Aid. I would.
I could see a resurgent year. I always say the best thing for a young quarterback is a good security blanket, and that's tight end. Hawk only played in 10 games last year, started 9, no touchdowns. So, with Jordan Addison being suspended and, still got Justin Jefferson out there, and these guys are going to help Hawkinson come around. So I like seeing him back healthy. I don't know who else the Vikings have at wide receiver. With all these cuts and everything, I haven't been able to, look at all the teams. That's right. They traded for Adam Thielen. Whew, and they got Jalen Naylor. Oh, that's gross, man.
I think Thielen could be a good Band-Aid for like the 2 games that Addison's out. I think that's probably what that trade is about, getting him back home and being something. But they don't really have a wide receiver 3 unless Ty Felton is a guy, or somebody that we don't really, have a lot of NFL film on at that point, because we know what Naylor is. We know, we've seen Thielen now. We saw what he was. I'm not going to say he's cooked up, but he's not who we thought we knew he will. He is. He's 33 years old at this point. So it is what it is.
Yeah, he's still decent though.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Not for fantasy, but he's okay.
No, NFL, like you're talking
Yeah.
about somebody that could get you 400, 500 yards and a couple touchdowns, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We're going to jump over to redemption guys. So guys that probably faded out a little bit last year. Before we get to that, we're going to run some FastDraft ad, and then we're going to get right back to it. So give me 1 second.
It is a damn shame we only get to do a handful of rookie drafts every season. After doing all this rookie analysis, you want more bites at the apple. And that's why we have the FastDraft Origins tournament. You draft 6 rookies, the top 4 into your lineup. It's best ball style, and it's just $5 to win a $5,000 first prize. So if you're passionate about Taj Brooks or RJ Harvey, get on FastDraft and use your favorite creator's code to get a $50 deposit match. A $50 deposit match to go make thousands of dollars drafting the rookies that you know and love.
Yes, that is FastDraft.app. And if you go over there, use our promo code DGEN. So it's DEGEN. So promo code DGEN, you can get up to a $50 deposit match. But you can go over there and draft some tight ends. So like I said, we're talking redemption year tight ends. Obviously, you can throw Mark Andrews right in there. We know how Mark Andrews finished his year. Evan Ingram And I put in David Njoku in there too, because a year of Joe Flacco really feels good to me. I think that, that boosted Njoku way up my boards a little bit. And then we can talk Colston Loveland too. And just the outlook of how he either rises or falls is, yeah, that's a word, right?
It is now. The lexicon.
Up the board. But are you in on Mark? Well, let's talk Evan Ingram actually. So are you in on Evan Ingram in the Broncos offense? And you think that he's gonna like, where do you have him finishing for this year? If you can project that.
Man, that one's tough. Because I kind of like the Broncos wide receiver room a little bit. Cortland Sutton, a well-deserved contract extension. I'm still not completely out on Marvin Mims. They got Troy Franklin, who's a 4th-round pick last year. They drafted Pat Bryant this year, who I like too. I got him in a lot of rookie drafts late. And then after Evan Ingram, they don't have a lot. Tight end room, Adam Troutman still kicking around. Nate Adkins, Lucas Kroll. I'm not saying
Nasty
that Evan Ingram's going to be the next Jimmy Graham, but let's not forget what Jimmy Graham did in Sean Payton's offense in New Orleans. He was quite viable. So if Evan Ingram rolls into Denver and picks up 700 yards on like 60, 70 receptions and 3 or 4 touchdowns, I'm okay with that. People just seem to be writing him off. He had injury histories, injury history in the past. That was when he was with New York. He was really good in Jacksonville, but him leaving opens the door for Brenton Strange. And, one of the things I heard when I was out at the Expo is people knocking Tyler Warren, saying, well, he couldn't even get on the field at Penn State. Yeah, well, James Franklin favors older players, and Brenton Strange was a 2nd-round draft pick, which is very good for a tight end. Mm-hmm. So I think Evan Ingram can be super viable in the Denver offense, and Bo Nix better than what I thought he was going to be too. So I like me some Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I am very in on Evan Ingram for at least this year when we are looking at, being that much like we see Tucker Kraft with Jordan Love. I think Evan Ingram's going to be that to Bo Nix, where he's,
without a doubt,
he's your safety. He's that go-to guy when you are struggling to see down the field, or, he's just going to be there in the middle of the field and likely, getting separation because he's a vet. He knows how to do that.
I do have to say he did only play 9 games last year, 47 for 365 and 1 touchdown. So, I think he could easily maybe double his yardage, bring in some more receptions there. But they were also without Trevor Lawrence a lot last year as well. So
yeah, it was a tough year. I think they called it. They essentially did a soft punt, and they just said, put in Mac Jones and let's get a couple, Mac Jones special games coming in, which he didn't do too bad, to be honest with you.
He's a good backup. He's a high-end backup, I think.
Yeah. What about Mark Andrews? How do we feel about him? I mean, we know that, likely he's dealing with injury and everyone at the beginning of the offseason was likely is the guy you want likely in this offense, and they're changing the guards, and Mark Andrews is falling off and likely's the guy to take over. I'm not drinking that juice. I like Mark Andrews a lot this year, but curious where you stand on Mark Andrew for this year and then in Dynasty in general.
I'm trying to see where Mark Andrews finished last year. I do not see him right now. I'll find him then. But look, Mark Andrews, he had some issues last year. A couple drop passes, just wasn't super productive. Isaiah Likely is hurt. So, that's going to – Mark Andrews was tight end 6 last year. Sorry. 11.1 fantasy points per game, and Isaiah Likely was tight end 16. So, I think Mark Andrews is still the guy you want. That's Lamar Jackson's guy. I think with Isaiah Likely starting the season injured, that could help boost Mark Andrews's, just confidence overall. And after that, all they have is Charlie Kolar, who I like Charlie Kolar coming out of Iowa State, but it's just kind of a guy. I'm in on Mark Andrews this year and beyond. It's one of those guys like Travis Kelce. Until he hangs it up, I think he's going to be productive.
Yep. Yeah, I think Mark Andrews at this stage of the game probably has, I'm going to say, what is he, 29 right now? 30? He's 30. He's got a
He's
solid
30.
3 years of being
Yeah.
a top 5-ish tight end. I think, give or
Yeah.
take, I think he's going to live in the top 8 for the next few years. There's a lot of young talent coming in. There's a lot of guys coming in the next draft class, and obviously we saw Warren and man, losing my mind right now.
Loveland.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I know this guy's name. Where's Loveland gonna kind of rank up as far as, because we're looking at a team that is very crowded. It is tough to say you see a path for a rookie tight end to come in and really carve out a role when we're looking at Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and then another rookie with Bird in there. And, there's still Komet that's going to be working in. And
that's the big one for me. Cole Komet got a contract extension. They draft Colston Loveland. Cole Komet is good enough to eat into Colston Loveland. That's another reason. Well, I mean, I always had Tyler Warren above Colston Loveland. I think Tyler Warren is just the more athletically gifted player overall. But it's going to be hard for Colston Loveland. And I think I'm not buying him right now. I'm going to wait until he doesn't do what everybody thinks he's going to do this year and try to get him next offseason. I'm going to buy the dip. Also, let's see what Caleb Williams does. I saw him in the preseason. There was this one play, I saw a clip of it on Twitter. He had a clean pocket, just took a sack. What are we doing here? This isn't USC, man. Throw it away. There's nobody open. Throw it away. It's okay. You know what I mean? So, I don't want to say I'm concerned about Caleb Williams. I'm just curious at this point, what's he going to do? I don't think you're going to see Colston Loveland being a tight end 1 this year. I'd say like maybe a higher end tight end 2-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think we're going to see a world where in Dynasty you can go trade for Colston Loveland at half the cost after this season. I think that a lot of people have that short-sighted, mentality when it comes to Dynasty value, where, I think his price now is a little inflated, but you can go and get this guy for half of what you're going to pay now in a couple months time. We obviously both don't love Loveland, but is there another rookie tight end that you love that you think could really produce? We always see these rookies come out and surprise people. Is there somebody that you have locked in for a surprise season?
There is, and that person is Mason Taylor, rookie tight end for the New York
Giants. Baby. You and I right there, baby. I'm with you.
I was such a huge fan of Mason Taylor when I put on his LSU film when we were prepping for rookie drafts and doing all our rookie content, which is my favorite part of the year. You put on the film and you just look at him and you're like, this guy's an NFL player. I don't know what it is exactly. It's just the way he went about running his routes, just shrugging off would-be tacklers, running hard after the catch. You're like, this guy is tailor-made for the NFL. He's fantastic. There's another guy who you're getting late in rookie drafts. Well, not anymore. Maybe you have a rookie draft to do yet. If you do, you should probably get on that. That's Gunnar Helm, tight end for the Tennessee Titans. I was getting him late 4th, 5th rounds of some drafts. He's got some people in the way, Josh Wiley, Chig Unconkro. I still don't know how to say his name. These guys are both free agents after this year.
The Titans man, I didn't even know Chig was a free agent. He's somebody that I am on this year, but
I like him. But the Titans need to upgrade their wide receiver core outside of Calvin Ridley. They got Tyler Lockett in there. Elick Eomanor is their 3rd wide receiver from Stanford. If you want to see some good Elick Eomanor highlights, watch what he did to Travis Hunter in the Stanford Colorado game. Fantastic. But if they want to spend money at the wide receiver position or running back position, they're going to need running back help after this year too. I believe Tony Pollard's deal is expired. Tajay Spears, still questions out on him. They can save money by just going to Gunnar Helm at tight end and with where you're getting him. So be the cheapest you'll be able to get him for a while. Now that's obviously a taxi stash for this year. You're looking beyond this year. So Mason Taylor now, Gunnar Helm later. Both of them later, technically, but Mason Taylor will help you more now.
I like the Gunnar Helm call out there. I mean,
I
I'm
like
in on
him a
Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor is lined up to be the second option on this offense already. You
I
know,
think
like
so. Yeah.
we're talking about a team that has Garrett Wilson, and then you know, there's ancillary pieces. There's people that probably don't belong on an NFL roster at this point. You know, like and it's not hard to see that he could be the second option day one. You know, and that's what you want for a tight end, especially, you know, when we saw Laporta lined up as the second option in that offense for that first year.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw JMO injured, and, you know, it was pre Gibbs and everything. Like, well, not pre Gibbs, but Gibbs wasn't who Gibbs is now, his
Right.
rookie year, you know? So, yeah, he was still there, but it was still, you know, we were throwing the ball a lot more, and it was going obviously to Laporta. I think he got his targets shaved off by 25% the second year. So yeah, I mean, that's how I play the game in tight end. I want the second option, the possibly the first or whatever it is. I want to see the targets. Before we get out of here though, give me not a rookie, but your favorite least talked about tight end, like the guy that people are sleeping on or is going to rise up, or, you know, just a you guy, like a whatever it is that you love about this guy. Just hit me with it before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. So old, he's almost dead. Washington Commanders tight end Zach Ertz, tight end 7 last year, 10.4 fantasy points per game. Everybody's out on him. The fact of the matter is he's productive. He's cheaper than Travis Kelce. He's younger than Travis Kelce. He won me a league last year. He won me a league just being so consistent down the stretch. I needed it's a start 2 tight end league. You know, I had Hawkinson and it wasn't really working out there. And I actually made a trade for Travis Kelce. So I rode Kelce and Ertz to the finish line. Yeah, let's not forget you could flex tight ends too. And there's a lot of times where a good tight end is better than whatever you're going to find on the waiver wire. But you can get Zach Ertz affordably because people are all excited about Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt and Debo Samuel being there and Terry McLaurin's contract extension. So get the old man. Get him on your roster. Love
Get
me
the old man.
And another guy, too, is former teammate Dallas Goedert. If he stays healthy this season, he's a beast when he's on the field. He's been injured the last couple of years. It's just what he does. He's so physical. Another guy you could acquire cheaply. I know he's the third option in that offense, but still, Jalen Hurts does love to target Dallas Goedert when he's on the field.
Yeah, I do think that Goddard, obviously, the injury stuff is the only thing holding me back. Yeah. And you added a question on here for me. Do you think Dalton Schultz is this year in Houston is going to be a thing? No, I'm out on Schultz. I like Schultz, but it's a little too messy over there right now. We're talking about Higgins and Noel, and, you know, they added 3 other options to that offense. I can't see Schultz getting the work that he needs to be viable. I think he'll still live in the 500-yard, 3 touchdown. He might have like 2 big games, and everything is just going to be very pedestrian. But he's going to be a guy that if you want, you got to get him out of that offense to flourish, I think.
It's a shame. I thought he was going to smash going to Houston, and then Houston's all of a sudden like, we're going to have good wide receivers and a good quarterback. It's like, well, where's this been my whole life? Oh, real quick, before we head out, another guy that I love, and he's still somewhat affordable even after the contract extension, Jake Ferguson, injured last year. But I'm a big Jake Ferguson fan. And also,
me too, man.
Way to go, Dallas Cowboys, for paying an average tight end and trading away one of the best defensive players in the NFL. But when I say that, go Birds.
I just was on a pod with a Dallas Cowboy fan. And
is he okay?
He's not okay. It was all rationalization for a solid 10 minutes before we went live. And I stayed quiet. I didn't say a word. Because
what is your team, I may ask?
I'm a Patriots fan. I'm in the Boston area. I've been through and through a Patriots fan, no matter where I've lived for the last 40 years at this point. So I just talked in nauseam with them because I did an AFC East breakdown. So I talked about, my fandom, and it's good and bad and great and awful all at the same time.
Man,
And
I've
it's
been
nice.
there with the
Yeah.
Eagles. There was a long, dark period. It's called the 90s. So yeah, but we're doing
Yeah.
okay now.
I mean, the early 2000s, can't say a word. I enjoyed 2001
Oh, yeah.
to what, 2018, 19, whatever it was, a whole 20-year period of time.
Yeah.
And then,
my child is spoiled. She's 6 years old and she's seen the Eagles play in 2 Super Bowls. I didn't see them play in their first one until I was 19. So she's spoiled.
yeah. I mean, I can never say anything about being a Boston fan because between the Red Sox, the Patriots, the Celtics, it's been parade after parade after parade. And Patriots haven't been pretty, but in that time, I've got a banner from the Celtics, and
No, man, I like
spoiled.
what the Patriots are building up there. I thought Mike Vrabel was a great hire. I love the
Mhm.
Drake May draft pick. Trading Joe Milton away was smart, in my opinion. Because I know there was some discourse last year in the preseason, like, oh, Joe Milton looks great. They should start him over Drake May. You got to get that out of the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't have that discourse in the locker room, and players start talking about it too, and you're just like, get out of here, dude. You gotta show them who they care about and who's the guy you're leading the team.
If they get a stud wideout in there, I like Hunter Henry. I like Travion Henderson, and Ramondre Stevenson as a 1-2, which, by the way, don't be out on Ramondre Stevenson just because they drafted Travion Henderson, had some fumbling problems. I'm still in on Ramondre. But if they get a stud wide receiver up there in New England, don't even have to win the division because the Bills can't do anything in the playoffs. So they always have a chance. Sorry, Bills fans.
Yeah. Dude, well, I appreciate you, Mikey. And tell everybody where to find your content, what you guys are cooking, anything that you have coming up, or anything that you've done recently that you want to plug in over here.
So we should be available on all podcast platforms that you listen to, Spotify, Apple. If there's some weird named podcast platform that you listen to that we're not on, shoot me a DM on X at Rewind CEO. We're on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well. Check us out there. And we have a website that just launched a little bit ago as well. We took a little bit of a lull from articles, just really getting things ready to gear up for the season. So that's going to be coming back soon. We also have a Patreon. If you want to throw us a couple bucks a month, get some Discord access, and then you also get bonus podcasts. So yeah, check us out. And, I always appreciate everybody that tunes in, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody jumping in tonight. And if you don't know Michael Bower, definitely go follow him on X, and then go check out Dynasty Rewind and all their good stuff. So we appreciate you joining us tonight, and we will catch you guys next week. Thank you.